Hello everyone, welcome to Topic of the Day. This is our Sunday edition where we discuss with you some places that have been in news lately. Let's begin our today's edition with the very first location as the Gilgit Baltistan region of Jammu and Kashmir. Now recently this was in news as the European Union said that it is monitoring the human rights violation in the Pakistan occupied Kashmir's Gilgit Baltistan region. Let's look into the map. Now, first of all, let's consider the map that is given by the Government of India. It is a map from Ministry of Home Affairs, from the official website of Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, India has divided this entire region into two union territories. First of all, we have the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and then we have the Union Territory of Ladakh. And the Union Territory of Ladakh consists of two districts, Leh and Kargil. Further on, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir consists of 22 districts. 22 districts. Here we have the capital Leh, and here we have Srinagar as the summer capital of Jammu and Kashmir, and Jammu as the winter capital of this entire union territory. Now let's move into the map which shows the conflicted regions. Now this particular region is known as the Gilgit Baltistan region. The Gilgit Baltistan region. This region is strategically important for India as it is rich in resources. First of all, it has a huge water potential or hydroelectric potential, and then it has huge mineral resources. It also shares boundary with Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Now, there is a little tract or a little corridor which is known as Wakhan Tract or the Wakhan Corridor. Now, this particular region, that is the Wakhan Corridor or the Wakhan Tract, gives us a land boundary with Tajikistan and further towards the Central Asian region. So, we can say that this region is strategically very important for India. Now let us look into the map that shows conflicted zones of this entire region. First of all, in the north we have the Gilgit Baltistan. Here we have the line of control. This particular region is known as Azad Kashmir by Pakistan. Now this is the Sakshkam Valley. In 1963, under the Sino-Pak Agreement, that is the China-Pakistan Agreement, Pakistan gifted this 5,000 km square of Trans-Karakoram region, which is known as the Sakshkam Tract or the Sakshkam Valley. And this is the Aksai Chin as occupied by China. Here we have Jammu and Kashmir, and this is Ladakh region. Now from the entire region of Jammu and Kashmir, or this entire region, we have around 30% of the area that is under Pakistan occupied Kashmir. 10% area is in the Aksai Chin, and 60% of the area is governed by India. Now this entire region, that is the Gilgit Baltistan region, is around 65,000 kilometers square in area, and the total region under Pakistan occupied Kashmir is around 74,104 kilometer square. Now let's move into the history of Jammu and Kashmir and understand the brief timeline of the events that occurred. So Gilgit was a part of princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, but was ruled directly by the British, who had taken it on lease from Raja Hari Singh. Now, Maharaja Hari Singh was a Hindu ruler in the Muslim-majority princely state. So, if we start with 1947, the British government abandoned the paramountcy policy on the British estates. But in this region already, Maharaja Hari Singh was already facing a revolt from the Gilgit Scouts or the local rebels of this region. In addition, the Pashtun tribe or the rebels of Pashtun tribe started entering this region in a bid to acquire the Jammu and Kashmir part. So they entered from northwest frontier province and captured Baramulla district. So in this particular scenario, Maharaja Hari Singh approached the then Home Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and asked for his help. But as we know that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel agreed to help Maharaja Hari Singh only on the condition of signing the instrument of accession. So on the 26th of October 1947, the instrument of accession was signed. Now, under this instrument of accession, J&K was officially acceded to India, and India was handed over the defense, communication, and external affairs of Jammu and Kashmir. And so the Indian forces were sent that defeated the Pakistani rebels in this front, or the Pashtun rebels in this particular front. Now, cut to 1st November 1947. The political outfit called Revolutionary Council of Gilgit Baltistan had proclaimed the independent state of Gilgit Baltistan. Cut to 1st November 1947, the political outfit that was known as Revolutionary Council of Gilgit Baltistan, or better say that Gilgit Scouts, they proclaimed independent state of Gilgit Baltistan, and on 15th November 1947, they declared it to be acceding to Pakistan. So on 1st January 1948, Jawaharlal Nehru raised the issue of Jammu and Kashmir in United Nations. And as a result, in April 1948, the United Nations passed a resolution which is famously known as Resolution 47. Under the Resolution 47, there were certain conditions. Firstly, Pakistan had to completely withdraw their forces. And second, there were only minimum Indian troops allowed in the state. And after this was done, a plebiscite or referendum was to be held. Moving further, in 1949, there was a Karachi Agreement, under which the ceasefire line was established the modern day line of control. So this is the modern day line of control. So moving further, in 1963, under the Sino-Pak Agreement, this particular region, which is known as the Sakshkam Valley or the Trans-Karakoram tract of around 5,000 kilometers square, this was gifted, so Sakshkam Valley, back in 1963. And cut to the Shimla Agreement, the ceasefire line was officially declared as the line of control, that is the LOC. So under the Shimla Agreement of 1972, both the countries agreed to address the dispute through bilateral talks only. In 1974, Pakistan introduced or adopted its first civilian constitution that gave 4 provinces. So initially they had 4 provinces. So if we look into the map of Pakistan, if you divide in general, these are the 4 provinces of Pakistan. We have Balochistan over here, the biggest province, that is Balochistan. This is known as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Here we have Punjab, the Punjab province, and this is Sindh province of Pakistan. And in the present scenario, if we talk about Pakistan, with these 4 provinces, it has 2 autonomous territories, that is Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan. And in 2021, Pakistan declared Gilgit Baltistan as its 5th province. Moreover, there is one federal territory, that is the Capital Territory of Islamabad. February 1994, the Indian Parliament passed a resolution stating that the state of Jammu and Kashmir has been, is and shall be an integral part of India. And India stands by this resolution till date. Now talking about the status of Gilgit Baltistan, it has been under the control of Pakistan since April 1949, when the leadership of Azad Jammu and Kashmir was forced to sign away this territory to Pakistan. So until 2009, these regions were known as Northern areas. And in 2009, the Gilgit Baltistan Empowerment and Self-Governance Order was passed, and this region was named as Gilgit Baltistan. And so at present, it does not have any constitutional framework, and it is under the direct control of Pakistani's central government. Now, if we talk a bit about the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, we have the route highlighted in red as the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So it is around 3,218 kilometer route that consists of highways, railways, pipeline. It is a multimodal route consisting of highways, railways, pipelines that connects Gwadar Port to Xinjiang province. Gwadar Port in Pakistan to Xinjiang province, that is the Kashgar in Xinjiang province of China. Now, this particular transit corridor is crucial for China's One Belt, One Road initiative that aims to connect China to Europe and Asia. So this was a bit about Gilgit Baltistan region. Now let's move on to our next location, and that is the Kuril Islands. So Kuril Islands is disputed territory between Japan and Russia. And since 2003, Japan is saying that the dispute over the Kuril Islands was the greatest concern in the Russia-Japan bilateral ties. So we'll look into the map where the Kuril Islands are located. Now first of all, here we have the map of Japan. Now Japan itself is divided into 4 major islands. First of all, here we have the northernmost, that is the island of Hokkaido. So we have the second major island, which is known by the name Honshu. Then we have the third island. This is a small island over here, which is known by the name Shikoku. And then we have the last, that is Kyushu. First of all, we need to understand that Japan itself is divided into 4 main islands. The northernmost is known as Hokkaido. So this island over here, this island is particularly known as Hokkaido. Then we have another island, that is this one, the biggest island. This particular island is named as Honshu Island. We have the third island, that is a bit smaller one, that is known by the name Shikoku, and the fourth one, that is named as Kyushu. So this one is Shikoku, and here we have the Kyushu Island. Now in addition, here we have a sea named as Sea of Okhotsk. Here we have the Northern Pacific Ocean. Here we have the Sea of Japan, which is also known as the East Sea. This is the Korea Strait. Here we have the East China Sea. This is the Philippine Sea. And here we have the La Perouse Strait. This is the Sakhalin region of Russia. And here we have the La Perouse Strait. So this divides Japan, and this region is the Russian region. Now to the north of Hokkaido, here we'll find the Kuril Islands. Let's locate the Kuril Islands in a zoomed map. Now if you consider this to be the Hokkaido, that is the northernmost island of Japan, to the north of this, here we have the Kuril Islands. So majorly the Kuril Islands are set of 4 islands that are situated between the Sea of Okhotsk. This particular is the Sea of Okhotsk and the Pacific Ocean. Now these Kuril Islands are volcanic archipelago, that is group of islands, and it is a part of the Sakhalin Oblast in the Russian Far East. Here you can see the Sakhalin Islands of Russia. So under the Kuril Islands, we have around 56 islands and many minor rocks. We have 56 islands and many minor rocks. So if we look into the brief history of the conflict between Russia and Japan due to this, in 1885 there was a treaty of Shimoda that gave the southern Kuril to Japan. So these were the southern Kuril and they were given to Japan and rest of the island chain to Russia. The Sakhalin Island has to be under the joint administration. So this particular, the Sakhalin Island, that had to be under joint administration. Further, in 1875, there was a treaty of St. Petersburg that gave all of the Kuril Islands to Japan in exchange of Russian jurisdiction over the Sakhalin Islands. Further, in 1905, after Russia's defeat in the Russia-Japanese War, Japan gains control of the southern Sakhalin Island. And in 1945, the Soviet Union occupies the entire Kuril chain and southern Sakhalin as well after declaring war on Japan during the final days of World War II. So finally, during the World War II, this entire region, the Sakhalin Island and the entire Kuril Islands were occupied by Russia. In 1951, Japan renounced the claim to Kurils in Treaty of San Francisco that was signed between Japan and the Allied powers. But the Soviet Union did not sign it, so we can say that, and Japan later claimed that the 4 southern islands are not part of the Kuril chain. So in 1956, the Soviet-Japanese Joint Declaration restored the diplomatic ties between both the countries. Soviet Union gave 2 islands, but Japan claimed territorial rights to all the 4 southern islands. So there was no agreement signed. And till date, this is a cause of rift between Russia and Japan. So here we have the Kuril Islands. Now if we particularly talk about the Kuril Islands, they form a part of Ring of Tectonic Instability, popularly known as Ring of Fire. So there is frequent seismic activities seen in these islands. And if we talk about the economy of this region, the islands have strategic and economic value in terms of fisheries and also mineral deposits of pyrite, sulfur and various polymetallic ores. So this was about Kuril Islands. Let's move on to our next location. Now let's move on to our next location, and that is Fiji. So the Prime Minister addressed opening of Sri Satya Sai Sanjeevani Hospital in Fiji and called the hospital a symbol of traditional relationship between Fiji and India. Now if we look into the map, here we have Fiji. So it is an island country that is a part of South Pacific Ocean and it is situated to the northeast of New Zealand. Here we have New Zealand. It is situated midway between Vanuatu, there is the island Vanuatu, and here we have the Tonga Island. Now Fiji consists of archipelago, that is group of islands of more than 300 islands. More than 300 islands. And out of these 300 islands, only 110 are permanently inhabited. Only 110 islands are permanently inhabited. And 87% of the local population in Fiji lives in 2 of the major islands. One is Viti Levu and another one is Vanua Levu. If we talk about the topography of this region, the majority of Fiji's islands are formed by volcanic activity that started around 150 million years ago. So these are volcanic islands and the formation started around 150 million years ago. Now if we talk about the climate in Fiji is tropical marine and warm year-round with minimal extremes. And if we talk about the economy, it is endowed with forest, mineral and fish resources. Now an important point about Fiji is it is one of the most developed of the Pacific Island economies. So this was all about today's edition of Places in News. We'll see you with more such videos. Till then, take care and do stay tuned.